Hello you guys, welcome back to day 4 in my declutter series where every single day for 7 straight days I am posting a declutter on my channel. We've already done foundation, powder, concealer, blush, bronzer, highlight, and today I have a shorter one for you. Today we are just decluttering my face palettes. I will say this one definitely feels more like collection. I don't declutter too many of my face palettes, but I am someone who has really grown a fondness and appreciation for my face palette collection over the years, and I actually enjoy incorporating a face palette into, I use face palettes frequently is what I'm trying to say. So that is what today is going to be. It is definitely a shorter video. I believe it's going to be under 20 minutes. But if you want to catch any of my previous declutters, if you have missed them, I will leave the playlist link down below. Other than that, if you're interested in seeing which face palettes I do decide to pass along, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project planning content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Alright you guys, for the face palette category, we're going to start with everything duos and trios. So these are all of my duos and trios. So we can start, I know like I reflect in some of these, so I kind of want to start with things I reflect in. Up first, I have my Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. This is what this looks like. I got a ton of use out of this when I first brought this into my collection, but I really have not reached for it much in the last like year and a half. I still think it's really beautiful, and I would really like to maybe potentially roll this into a project to try and at bare minimum like use up the bronzer side. Like I do think that that is so beautiful, and I really should just get use out of this. So I'm gonna keep this. Then I also have my Natasha Denona Blush and Glow, which looks like this. And this is tough because I do feel like I got quite a bit of use out of my Blush and Glow earlier this year. Oh yeah, even the blush is like a bit glowy and beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this. I feel like I would declutter this just to declutter it, and that is not the point of this declutter. So I'm gonna keep that. Then I have this one from LH Cosmetics. This is the Duo Dimension blush. I don't know if it's in the shade Area, but it's the shades Scope and Link, I believe. These are what these look like. This is so tough because I feel like I don't reach for like mauve shades that much, but what I like about this blush duo is that they are like sheeny sort of shades. I actually do really like that. Okay, I am going to keep this. I also don't own a lot from LH Cosmetics, so I feel like this is worth keeping. My Natasha Denona My Dream Cheek Trio. This I was actually pretty disappointed in. I was so excited to purchase this, and I just do not feel myself excited to reach for this. I don't feel like any of these 3 products looks super special on my face. And I feel like when I first got this, I really wanted to like it because it was more expensive. It's Natasha Denona, but it just isn't my favorite. And I feel like my sister or even my mom could get so much more use out of this than I could, or a friend. So I am going to declutter this one and pass this along to someone else. Then I have my Scooby-Doo Glam Light Duo, this blush duo. I was thinking I for sure was gonna keep this, but now I'm looking at this, and while I think that these are really beautiful, they are just like more pigmented shades and really just not shades that I personally am feeling like inclined to reach for these days. Like I am not looking for a really bright blush these days. I'm definitely opting for something a little bit more subtle or natural on the cheeks. And while I do really love the packaging, it's so hard because I do love the packaging, but it's like, would I really miss this in my collection? Like, am I waking up every day and looking at this packaging is like bringing me joy? When I do look at the packaging, it is, but it's not even packaging I'm like looking at every day. So like, do I really need to keep it around just because it's incredible packaging? Probably not. The packaging is so cute though. I feel like maybe I'll give this to my daughter. I'm gonna pass this along to my daughter. I feel like she would love this. Then I'm like, do I keep it in my collection or do I, hold on. There's the blush. Oh, maybe I'm not maybe just not quite yet ready to part with this. If I don't reach for this at all this summer, then I need to declutter this by the end of the year, but I'm gonna keep this for right now. All right, my Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl palette. I am gonna keep this. I can't remember if I've decluttered this in the past and recluttered into my collection, but I actually am just so happy to have this. I really love the Highlight Peach Glow, and I love Ballerina, and even Gilded Honey is beautiful on like my shoulders. Like I do like it on my shoulders in the summer, so I wish the packaging wasn't so bulky, but I'm gonna keep this for the time being. Then I have my Adept Trio in the shade Valentina, and this really, I feel like I thought that these shades were the most beautiful, so that's why I purchased this, but realistically this was not the face palette from the line that would match me and my skin tone best, so I just am never reaching for this because these shades just, they don't work on my skin tone. So I'm gonna pass this along to someone who can get more use out of it, and I'm going to declutter that. I will keep my Lancome highlighting trio. I have pan in every single shade of this, so clearly I really enjoy this palette and I like having this around. That one will stay. And then finally I have my Laura Mercier Standing Ovation Cheek Palette. I was so excited when I first purchased this, but I feel like aside from this shade right here, it looks so dirty. Aside from that shade, I really don't reach for this palette, and I have other shades similar to this in my collection that I can be reaching for. So I almost would just rather pass this along to someone who I feel like would get more use out of all of the shades. And I think, oh, it's so hard because I do really like, it's so cute and I like having it, but I'm not reaching for it enough. So I'm gonna pass this one along as well. So I'm gonna pass along that, meaning that we are decluttering 3 trios, and then we will be keeping 6 from the duo and trio category. Okay, that feels okay. Decluttering 3, keeping 6. Let's move on to the face palettes. All right, you guys, we're on to then this jumbled pile of the rest of my face palettes. And as I hope I mentioned in the introduction, I have really grown a fond appreciation for a lot of my face palettes. Like I really like face palettes. I don't know, there's just something that feels really special about them and I really enjoy using them. So this portion might feel more like a collection. I don't see myself getting rid of a ton that's sitting in front of me. Let's start with my NARS palettes because I know I'm not getting rid of any of these. So up first, I have the NARS Orgasm on the Beach palette, which I get a lot of the NARS palettes end up looking the same, but there is something that I just love about the NARS face palettes to the point where I feel like I'm a collector now. I will say I did declutter their quad that they came out with last year. I much prefer like their 6-pan face palettes, but that is Orgasm on the Beach. Then we have Overlust, which I feel like was a little bit different from anything that I personally own from NARS or have seen them release. They have the 3 like cream to powder highlight formulas or highlighters on the top, and then some more like neutral blushes for the bottom. I really enjoyed that palette. Then I have the Rising Star palette, which I enjoyed this one because I really liked this blush right here. I thought it was a little bit unique for them. And then we have the All That Glitters palette, which came out last holiday season. I really enjoyed this shade from the All That Glitters palette. And then the newest addition to my NARS face palette collection is the Laguna Ultimate face palette, which looks like this. I will say, I don't know, I feel like maybe I shouldn't have purchased this one because I feel like I have this all in my collection. But anyway, I'm currently keeping this because it's very, very new to my collection. Okay, trying to kind of like keep things, scoot things more in frame. I don't know. What am I trying to say? Okay, let's talk about some more oldies that I'm definitely keeping. So I have the Lorac Shine Bright Color Source palette. I am so glad that I have not decluttered this because these 3 blush shades are like right up my alley in terms of just what I'm loving for a blush these days. Just something more like brownie nude and just like super neutral. So I'm really happy to still have this in my collection and obviously going to keep that. I will also be keeping my Bella Beauté Bar Oracle palette. This is a 6-pan highlighter palette, and I really like this for inner corner highlighting. I wouldn't say that I use these highlighters on my face because they are, some of them are like duochrome or multi-chrome, very shifty, and not really what I'm looking for on the cheeks, but love this for an inner corner highlighting palette. So that's really what I keep that around for. And then I have the Smashbox Cali Contour face palette, which I absolutely fell in love with when I first brought this into my collection. I will say I haven't used this as much recently, but I really should pull this back out because this bronzer I feel like I could get a ton of use out of. The blush shade used to be one of my favorite blush shades, so I really just need to really pull this back out and show it the love that I used to get. And then I absolutely love and adore my Moon Prism palette from Lunar Beauty. There was a point in time this spring when I was reaching for this shade Soleil so much for this really beautiful kind of like shimmery blush shade. I just absolutely love this. We've got some more like neutral nudie leaning blushes, and this is just a staple face palette in my collection, so keeping that. Let's talk about my 2 Hourglass palettes. So I have the Hourglass Ghost Quad, which I absolutely love. This is absolutely most definitely staying in my collection. The dome on this shade right here has worn down quite significantly, and I just think Hourglass makes such a beautiful blush formula, so obviously going to keep that. My Snake palette I purchased last winter, and this is another situation where I feel like I thought that these were the most beautiful shades, but it's not the best for my skin tone. And while I do really love this blush shade, even the bronzer just is not the most flattering bronzer on my skin. I love the packaging. I think it's so fun, but realistically, I just don't think I'm gonna get the use on this palette that it deserves, especially for how much it costs. So I feel like I should pass this along to someone else who this is going to match better. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually am going to declutter the Hourglass Snake palette. Okay. I am also gonna declutter my ABH Moonchild palette. This shade is somewhere, but I've kept this around kind of as an inner corner highlighting palette, and I literally never reach for it, so there's no point in me keeping the ABH Moonchild Glow Kit, but I am gonna keep the Aurora Glow Kit. I do like having this for an inner corner highlighting palette, and I also really like the shade Eclipse on the cheeks at times for a highlight. There is something just special and kind of nostalgic about the Aurora Glow Kit, which is so funny because this, of all the glow kits, I was like, no, I'm never gonna use that, I'm not buying it, and it's like one of the few glow kits that I still use to this day. So this one I will keep. I will also keep my Jaclyn Hill Rouge Romance palette, although I don't really reach for this one. I'm like, should I keep this or should I declutter it? Like, do I really care to have this in my collection? I feel like I kept that Scooby-Doo that has similar shades. Maybe I don't need this in my collection anymore. I feel like I don't. I'm not really reaching for these bright pops of color, and I said I was gonna keep my Scooby-Doo quad. I don't feel like I need this. I think the outer packaging is really pretty, but I shouldn't keep this just for the outer packaging if I'm not reaching for this. I actually am going to declutter this. Okay, that's surprising. I didn't think I was going to do that. I'm definitely keeping Becca Après-Ski. I love this face palette. Oh my gosh, with my whole heart. This is like one of the face palettes I loved even when I didn't love face palettes. It has Becca Rose Quartz, which is my favorite pink tone highlight of all time. And I really should like try and focus on using this bronzer up because I do really enjoy this bronzer as well. So this is staying. I have 2 face palettes still hidden over here. I have my Dior quad. I have decluttered and recluttered this into my collection. I will say I don't get, like, I'm not really reaching for these 2 shades right here, but I really do think that these 2 highlights are beautiful. I've been really liking something kind of peachy like this. This does have a bit of like sparkle, this one specifically, but this is such a beautiful pink as well. I did spend $40 on this, I think, so if I'm reaching for a couple of shades in this, I would like to at least keep this for the time being. We know I love my Natasha Denona Glam face palette, so this is going absolutely nowhere. I actually like this palette most for the eyeshadow shades at the bottom. I enjoy traveling with this palette and we'll be keeping that. My Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit, I am going to keep, but I don't know that I'm going to use this. I feel like I'm like going to retire this product, but keep it in my collection. Nicole Guerrero was one of the first YouTubers I ever started watching. So I feel like I just have like a nostalgic place in my heart for this. Plus I do think some of these highlights still are beautiful. They definitely don't perform like they once did, but I'm gonna keep this. I just don't know that I'll actually get use out of it. Then I have my Nomad Sydney Bathurst palette, and I do like this, but I don't know that I need this in my collection. I really like this pink highlight shade, and I really like the bronzer in here, but I don't get a ton of use out of these two shades. And I really only reach for this palette when I very specifically pull this into a Shop My Stash. And I feel like maybe like this is reminding me of Becca Rose Quartz that I could reach for, and this is reminding me of the Becca bronzer. I actually feel like maybe I just don't need this. I had no intention of decluttering this when I pulled this out. But I'm like looking, and I do have a lot of face palettes. Okay, I feel like I can pass this one along. We're gonna pass this one along. And then I'm gonna keep my Patrick Ta Major Holiday Face Palette. First of all, my daughter loves this. This is like her go-to when she's like wanting to play with makeup. Clearly she played with this blush the other day. And then we have the 4 really beautiful kind of glitter topper shades that I feel like someday I'm just gonna be so into like a sparkly glitter topper, and I would definitely regret decluttering this if I did. Plus I just like the outer pink packaging, if I must say. So this one will be staying, and as predicted, we're not getting rid of mini face palettes at all. So getting rid of 4 face palettes, and then we are keeping 16. So decluttering 4, keeping 16, but I am at peace with that. I am okay with that. I'm honestly proud of myself for decluttering these 4, plus the duos and trios. So we're gonna call it good for face palettes. Oh, actually, I just forgot. For a trio, I also have my Hourglass strobe light palette. No, ambient, dim, this. Definitely keeping this. So that's one more duo and trio to add to the mix. But anyway, those are that's a face palette collection and very small declutter. All right, you guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's short and sweet face palette collection and declutter video. I would love to know if you're surprised by any of the declutters, or if there was anything you think that I should have let go of that I didn't. Let a girl know in the comments below. Other than that, thanks so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.